Welcome, everyone. I'm Claire Jones, and I'm a queer fantasy romance author, as well as a small publisher that helps other writers get their works shared with the world. And we are jumping on for my Marketing as Authors podcast, where I interview the amazing and inspiring authors in my network to discuss the marketing strategies that have hopefully propelled our careers forward in meaningful ways.
Love
That's
it.
we're trying our best over here. So if you're joining us, please like, comment, share below. Let us know that you're here. And today I'm talking to Kate. I'm so glad to have you.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, remind me what panel we were on. Was it the Romantasy panel?
It was the romantasy panel. Yes,
Yeah.
my brain just went blank. I was like, oh, I don't know. What did we talk about? And I'm like, no, it was definitely romantasy. Yes.
Yes, yes, at Worldcon. I mean, that panel exceeded my expectations in every single way possible. I was not expecting anything going into it. And then everyone's like, it's my favorite panel, like both the panelists and the attendees. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm winning, I guess.
I'm not gonna lie, I was a little nervous just because like romantasy is such a hotly debated
Yeah,
topic. And like Worldcon in my mind is such a like traditional
yes,
fantasy and sci-fi space. And so I was like, oh man, are we gonna get on this panel and people are gonna be like, boo,
yeah,
romantasy.
yeah,
But it
yeah.
was not like that at all. It was wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely have the same perspective going into it. I was like, all right, because it's like, high fantasy is like up there in the whole like stratosphere of the
Yes.
hierarchy, right? And
Yes.
there's like, we just like sex. Hee hee.
Yes. Yes. I was like, okay, you can't get on the panel and rant. Like, just don't do that. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it is such a hotly debated topic these days. It is honestly fascinating to watch.
it is. It's so funny. It's I was talking to I think it was Lee Bardugo while at Worldcon. I totally fangirled. Like
Oh,
we're not friends. Let's like be very clear. I wish we were friends, but I
yeah.
was just fangirling to her. And I was talking about my work, which like she was a huge inspiration for me. And I think I said it was romantic fantasy, and she was like, "Oh, you don't call it romantasy?" And I was like, "It depends honestly on the crowd I'm in." How I define the work. So it's like, and I was like, and it's from watching the debates that I never want to like unknowingly strike a debate and
Yeah.
just be like, oh no, I'm not prepared.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
You're like, are my comment sections going to blow up? Are they not
Right.
going to blow up?
Exactly.
Do I have to keep
Exactly.
my notifications on for this, or do I just
Right.
like post and ghost? Like, what's
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes you wake up the next morning and you're like, 100 comments.
Oh my God, I
Like,
know. And
what?
I'm like, I just got a brick for my phone because of my like just obsession with like social and I'm like no I can't like the notifications they're too much.
Yeah, yeah. The do not disturb function on my phone and me are like best friends. Like, there's a certain point in
Yes.
the day where it just automatically comes on for my own sanity.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Mine's I have work mode and then like sleep mode and
Yeah,
it's either on work mode or sleep mode.
yeah,
Can't
yeah.
contact me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, since we're talking about how you categorize your books, tell us what
Yes.
they are, how many, so on
Yes,
and
all the
so
things,
forth.
all the
All the
exciting
things.
things. So I wrote the Curse of Saints trilogy, which is a romantic fantasy slash romantasy, depending on how you're defining it, trilogy. The last book, The Curse of Gods, just came out this August, actually, which was very exciting. It's my first like completed trilogy. I will probably be taking a break from trilogies for the foreseeable future. I was like, maybe I'll try a duology next time.
Mm,
But I was very excited. It's been like the last 5, 6 years of my life in this world. And it follows Aya, who's the queen's third in command and spy master. And she's been tasked with working with her bitter enemy, Will, who's the queen's second in command and brutal enforcer, to uncover why dark magic has reappeared in their kingdom. And as they're investigating, something really tragic happens, and Aya shows powers that haven't been seen in over 500 years.
ooh,
And everyone assumes she's the prophesized second saint who's been sent to save the realm from the return of dark magic. But then her power starts presenting as dark magic. So they have to figure out, has she been sent to save the realm, or has everyone misunderstood the prophecy and the
mm,
gods actually want her to just destroy the entire thing?
mm.
So lots of political intrigue,
Yeah,
lots of like self-reflection, religious undertones
yeah,
within it,
yeah.
and lots of romance, lots of romance. I would say it's like 50% fantasy, 50% romance in that sweet
Mm,
spot. And then I have a contemporary romance coming out next year called The Odds of You, and that's my first foray into contemporary romance.
Congratulations. I cannot
Thank
touch
you.
contemporary romance.
It's so funny. So when I first started off in this career, I remember thinking that I was not going to write fantasy. Like I was like, I'm not going to write fantasy. And then I was working on a rom-com, which will never see the light of day. And I had this idea, which became The Curse of Saints. And I like followed the shiny object,
Yeah.
even though I had asked my friends that I was writing with at the time. I was like, don't let me do this. And thank God they didn't listen. And so then I was like, now I'm only going to write fantasy. Like I'm only going to live in the fantasy world. And then odds kind of snuck up on me and I was like, oh, actually, like I don't think I'm meant to stay in one genre. Like my ADHD just doesn't get filled that way. So, yeah, but I did find it very difficult. The thing that I found surprising about contemporary is like you need so much more research because in
Yeah.
fantasy, you could just make it up. You know what
That's
I mean?
that's the reason why I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't just make shit up.
Yes, I was like, I remember looking. So half of the book takes place in the Isle of Skye, which I've been to. It's one of my favorite places in the world. It's in Scotland. But the last time I was there was 2019, so it's been a bit, right? And so I'm trying to describe Portree, which is the most populated town on the Isle, and I'm like trying to figure out how the parking lot looked. And I spent
Mm.
so much time like going through Google Maps satellite view and like
Ah,
walking the town and for like two sentences. And I was like, this is ridiculous.
yeah,
Like, you
yeah,
know, I
yeah,
can't just throw people in a skiff and be like, they get there in, oh, I don't know, like three
yeah,
weeks.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. And based on the current state of our world affairs right now, I feel like anything you write that has a real world setting is tricky.
yeah, yes, yes,
There's a lot of
100%.
weight attached to it.
There's so much weight attached to it. And like, it's so interesting because especially because I'm queer, I'm bi, and I'm writing my next book is a like late in life bi awakening book, and I'm writing it through the perspective of, someone who comes to terms with their sexuality later in life. And she lives in the South. And like,
Mhm.
there's so much to be said about being queer in the South and then being queer in the South today.
Yes.
And I'm like trying to find that balance between, I don't want this to turn into
Yeah.
just like a rage-filled
Yeah.
diatribe about
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
And also, it's not accurate if you're not like addressing. It's just so, yeah, there's so much that goes
Yeah.
into writing contemporary
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah. I would rather create a whole new world
Yeah.
on my own
Yeah.
than have to navigate the nuances of real.
Yeah. Yeah. That's real. That's real.
You want to talk about the messaging system in this high fantasy world? Absolutely. However, talking about all of that South stuff,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
I,
a lot.
I'll pass. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot for sure.
Yeah. So, have you always been writing? Like, has this come
I
naturally for you?
have. So I have like since I was 11, I've always been a writer. I never finished anything, but I was definitely always writing things like little short stories. I was really into band fanfic for a while. I was writing like self-insert band fanfic, which is
Yeah.
embarrassing, but that
No.
was
Yeah.
fun.
I get it. I
Right?
think we
I was
all
like,
start as fanfic writers, honestly.
yes, and so I have such mad respect for fanfic. And I read it religiously now. Like I think it's some of the best writing I've ever read. I have always dreamed about like stepping back into it and writing it. But now I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like, is it going to feel like work or is it going to feel like an escape? But yeah, so I was like I was never published in the fanfic space because I wasn't brave enough to like put my stuff out there. But I was writing it. And I had a friend that we'd go back and forth with like a fanfic like story that we just
Yeah.
fill in different chapters
Yeah.
and co-write. And I was a journalism major in school, so I was always like trying to find like some form of writing that I could do professionally. And then I was a copywriter, which I did not know existed until I graduated, and I was trying to get into PR because I felt like I didn't want to go work for the newspaper.
Mhm.
And I wanted to work for the Rolling Stone, but I had to move to Texas to do that. And I was like,
Ah,
no, thank you. No offense to Texas, I just didn't want to move. But like, I was like, no, I'm good. And then, yeah, and then someone was like, how about a copywriter? And I was like, what is that? And they're like, you write and get paid to write. And I was like, what? So yeah, I've always been some form of a writer. But The Curse of Saints was actually my first book.
oh, wow.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it
the
was
whole
wild.
like professional author career is relatively new.
It is, yeah. So I got picked up by my publisher in 2022. Is that right? Yeah,
Oh,
Saints came out in
wow.
2023. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I owned my own copywriting business at that point, and I shut down my business because I was like, okay, well, this is like the thing now. So yeah, it was really wild. I had a very like fairy tale-esque acquisition
Yeah, it
that was
sounds like
like
it. I'm like, that sounds terrifying.
yeah, it honestly was, and it completely like ruined my frame of reference.
Yeah.
Like I knew it wasn't normal. Like I obviously knew going into it it wasn't normal. But then I was like, oh, wait, this is like it was such a mind fuck. Like 'cause I was
Yeah.
like, wait, this is like when I went on so out on submission with The Odds of You, it took a little bit longer for that book to get acquired. It was literally overnight for Saints, like 24 hours. It was
Yeah.
ridiculous. We
Wild.
got preempted. Yeah, it was really wild. And so like with odds, it's like 2 weeks and I'm like, what's going on? And my agent's like, listen,
Yeah.
like, this is how it goes. It's
Yeah.
going to be months. And I
Yeah.
was like, I don't
If not
understand.
years.
Yeah, if not years. Yes. So yeah, it was a very surreal experience. I think in hindsight, I would not have closed my business because I definitely did have to like jump back into freelancing because,
Yeah.
publishing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was wild. It's still relatively new. And I feel like I'm still learning. Like every day I'm like, oh wow, I just didn't know that.
Yeah. 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 Have you been I assume you've been very active during the last 3 years then, if it was
Yes.
like your career
Yes.
choice.
Yes. So Saints came out in 2023, Sins in 2024, and then Gods in 2025. So it was like pretty back to back to back. It's about a year lead time for the books. So I had to like really turn them around quite quickly.
Yeah.
Um, and then odds happened simultaneously, like during that period. And then I have another contemporary romance coming out and another unannounced project that that I'm not allowed to share, but that is coming. So yeah, I was like definitely the deadlines are stacking up. And then as you know, like the marketing side of things takes
Yeah.
so much time. And I can lose myself in that just because it's my background. Like I came from a marketing background with the copywriting and such. So I have to remind myself, like, girl, you got to write the books too.
Yeah. Yeah. So what have you been able to achieve over the last 3 years?
So I think that a lot of my success has come, well, I mean, luck, obviously, in publishing. I think a lot of it is luck, but I also think that when I was acquired for The Curse of Saints, at that point, I had exploded on TikTok, like quite randomly.
Wow.
And then because I had a digital marketing background, I was able to be like, okay, wait. Instead of just keeping these people on TikTok, like, why don't I build an email list? So I
Yeah.
went from having like my email list was associated with my other business to a
Okay.
book email list for people who wanted updates on The Curse of Saints. I didn't even have representation at the time. And
Wow.
it was like, I think I grew it to like 10,000 people within four
On an
months
email
on
list.
an email list.
Wow.
It was wild. It was wild just by being like, if you want updates, because I was like, I don't have an agent. I don't have a publisher. I
Yeah.
don't really know what I'm doing. I'm still finishing the book. Like
Yeah.
I was editing at the time. And so I was like, I need a place to keep all these people because I know that they might never see a TikTok of mine again.
Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah.
then that kind of moved over into Instagram. And so I was able to like build my Instagram following quite a bit and my TikTok following quite a bit. I'm not really on TikTok anymore. I was like, thank you so much. Bye. So now I'm mostly on Instagram and Substack. And but I really do think that like having that audience and being able to go to publishers and say like, look, she has a built-in audience
Yeah.
and she knows her marketing
Yeah.
was really, really helpful for me.
Yeah.
It also kind of bit me in the ass because, then it's like, oh, cool, do your marketing. And I was like,
Yeah.
wait. So yeah, but I think that helped a lot. I was a Fairy Loot like book of the month
Mm.
for The Curse of Saints, which obviously like blew up the series.
Mhm.
So there was like a lot that came from that. But I do think that like having that basis of the platform was really, really helpful.
Yeah. What created that initial success on TikTok?
So, so I remember like getting into the book talk space. I was really afraid of TikTok. Like everyone got into it during COVID, and I was like, no, like I just didn't. I was too scared.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I was like, I was doing a lot of, in my previous job, I was a copywriter and business coach. So I coached a lot on like messaging and marketing and how to
Mhm.
position your business online specifically. So I was
Mhm.
already like public facing quite a bit. And I
Mhm.
was like, I don't need one more area.
Yeah.
But then when I got really serious about my book and I realized like, oh, this isn't just like one of those things where I'm like, I have an idea. This could actually be something.
Yeah.
I started paying attention to book talk and I was also consuming a lot of content because I was, inside and reading all day and wanted to escape the world. And I remember looking at it and thinking to myself, okay, if I start talking about the Curse of Saints the way a book talker would talk about it, I think that would get more attention than me coming out the gate and immediately talking to like other authors because what I really wanted was to grow an audience who would be interested in my book. So
Mhm.
I started filming these really ugly, like just face to camera, like snippets of me reacting to a line in my book, like with a sound.
Ah.
And I am my biggest fan. Like, I mean, not all the time. Like, I have my own imposter syndrome, but I can turn on my own fanship for myself. And especially at that point, because nothing had come from it yet. And I was just obsessed with the idea. So I would just freak out about a line that I was like, yes, like, this is amazing.
Ah.
And for some reason, that like struck a chord with people, and people really,
Mhm.
really liked that. And I think part of it, like, I think some people thought I was doing a bit, and I was like, no, this is just like me. This is just
Yeah.
how I am.
Yeah.
But I would spend like hours trying to do the whole like aesthetic post thing, and they would flop. And then I would do like a 15-second me just like screaming in my pajamas about this one line that's like synced to an emotional song, and it would just take off. And I was
Mhm.
like, I don't get it, but I
Mhm.
like it. But I
Mhm.
really do think, like, at the time on Book Talk, I mean, I don't know that it necessarily works anymore, but at the time, that was the type of content that like readers were really into. And I think I always tell writers when they're marketing their work, think about it through the lens of like what a reader would latch onto. And I think it's hard for us to move into that space and look at our
Yeah.
work as a reader,
Yeah.
especially as we're working on it. But I honestly think that was like the main thing that like had it have that early success.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of fascinating because a lot of people say that like authors should stay out of reader spaces, right?
Mm-hmm, totally.
But it's nuanced. You can't be like you have to also be part of the readership to be part of the
Yeah.
industry too.
Yeah. Yes,
So that's a
exactly.
very fine line to navigate.
It is. And it's, I always, it was easier, I think, when I didn't have a book out because
Yeah.
I was a reader, and
Yeah.
like, and I think it's the thing is to be very clear. Like, anytime I talked about The Curse of Saints, it was never hidden that like I was the author of it. Like, I was just like, from my book, The Curse of Saints, that doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
Um, I think now it is harder. Like looking for trends and such is difficult because
Yeah.
it does feel like stepping into reader spaces.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there are some trends that I'm like, yeah, I can hop on this, and there are others that I'm like, this isn't for me. I think some of the things that have helped me personally is like I have all of my own keywords blocked. So like I can't see
Mhm.
content about the Curse of Saints. I can't see it about, me as a person. One, that's for my mental health, but two, it's not for me. Like it's if you're putting content out there, unless you're sending it directly to me,
Mhm.
it's not for me. And so that's kind of how I've found my space there and like carved out because
Yeah.
I do think TikTok, all of social media really is a very interesting blending of space, but we see it the most on TikTok, which is
Yeah.
that, we have authors and readers kind of coming together and you can't separate it completely because it's not like a subscription. Like Substack, you can do that. You just don't subscribe.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's it's so tricky because I've been trying to navigate this myself as well because, most of us who started on Book Talk started as reader accounts
Hmm.
of being like, these are the books that I'm reading, this is what I'm enjoying, this is what I'm not enjoying. These are like I come from the critical thinking standpoint, so I talk about like, who uses POV well and
Yeah.
who
Yes.
uses world building well and stuff like that. But as I got more and more published, I was like, oh, I can't be publicly criticizing other authors.
That, yeah, I was just talking to, so I mentor in the Pocket MFA program, and I was just talking to a mentee about this because they wanted to start a social media channel, and they were like, I thought I could get started just building my audience, like reviewing books. And I was like, you cannot do that if you're planning on, if the plan is, right, to like grow into this, because those are your colleagues. Like
Yeah,
you're going to be out
yeah,
there interview, like,
yeah.
yeah. So I was very lucky that like I don't know that I ever like I talked about books I was loving, but I never went into like the deep reviews. But I do remember like going through my Goodreads and being like, I'm just gonna remove all of this because these are my colleagues. And like I don't, I just don't think it's I don't know. I think it's really difficult. Like that line is just it gets really hazy
Yeah,
when
yeah,
you
yeah.
become an author. I agree with
Yeah,
you.
and so you do have to be able to like talk the talk and view the world from the reader perspective,
Hmm.
but you also need to keep distance from that space
Yeah.
because it's not really your space at the end of the day.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
It's almost like being multi-personality.
Yes, it's like you have to like put your reader hat on and then put your author hat on. And like I also think that, it's just the more time I spend out of the reader space, the less active I am
Yeah,
on this method of marketing because I'm
yeah.
like, I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. I know what I'm talking about and I know what resonates with my readers. But like I tell my sister this all the time because she'll help me sometimes with social media. And I'm like, any trends I need to know about because I'm not scrolling book talk anymore. Like
Yep.
I just don't feel like it's a very interesting I don't know of many careers that have this sort of like weird meshment
Yeah.
of different roles where like you have to be present in a space, but also you can't be too present and like, but you can't not be present.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting. It's very
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the approach that I'm deciding on these days is just treating everyone as a friend.
Yes. Yes. Community.
Yeah, like even if I don't necessarily agree with what they're necessarily doing, I'm just like,
It,
I'm just gonna keep those opinions to myself.
oh man, there's so much that I think would benefit us if we kept our opinions in the group chat in some cases. I
Oh,
mean, listen, there are some cases where we should be absolutely like openly discussing things and bringing things to light. I
yeah,
also am like, I don't know that everything needs that treatment
yeah,
to
yeah.
like the group chat.
Well, I think we've also kind of moved into this era of rage baiting too.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Mm-hmm.
is a very dangerous space to interact with. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
hard to build a sustainable platform on that.
That is so true and so real. And it's actually one of the things that I've struggled with because I think social media marketing is so effective. And I also think it gives authors especially in the trad space, because I'm traditionally published, a false illusion of control,
Yeah.
right? And in some ways, in other ways, it can help us like kind of pull some strings and be like, look, publisher, look, social proof.
Yeah.
But in another like very real sense, it only moves the needle so much, and nothing is ever going to move the needle like your publisher throwing their support behind you.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, I've had to like release this idea that because I know it was very helpful in me getting my start, that like it's not serving me the same way it was initially serving me.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's no longer sustainable. Like it kills my mental health. It eats up my time. I deleted my threads and have it blocked on my computer so I don't go scroll and doom scroll because there's just so much of it.
Yeah.
And like the world is chaos. And that is like, that's where my energy needs to be, right? Is like focusing on what I can do here.
Yeah.
And I found myself like getting just enraged. And then I was like, I can't be here.
Yeah.
And then I would go through that loop of like, no, 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 I need to be here because this is what helped me. And this is what, like, this is why I'm successful and, all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, but this doesn't, like, that is the last iteration of you and you need new boundaries. Like, I was like, replying to every comment, replying to every DM. And I was like, I can't. this is unsustainable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of had the thought the other day that social media is dead, honestly. Like, and I've been grappling with that thought for like I think 2 weeks now, where I'm just like,
Yeah.
what do I do with that?
It's, it is very interesting because I really don't know now, like how much it actually makes an impact. Like
Mhm.
and I think part of that is because like I have there's such a lack of transparency in publishing. And so you can only see so much data. And I'm like constantly asking my publishers, I'm like, can I see this? Can I see this? Can I see this? But I can't track the full funnel. Like I come from a career where like you could track every step of the funnel and be
Yeah.
like, this worked, this didn't,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And this, you really can't. And the more I throw at it, the more I'm like, okay, the goals that I once had don't align anymore. And I don't think the platforms like really move the needle in the way that we once thought. I mean, Book Talk is totally different. It's really difficult to engage there as an author. And I think, like it serves you kind of when you're building your platform, but at that point, you kind of have to switch gears. Um, Instagram changes its algorithm every day.
Yep.
Like, so
Yep.
it's just email list, build your email list.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm like, I'm leaning more towards like collaborations,
Yeah,
partner
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
events, that
Oh,
because that feels
events.
so much realer
Hmm.
than the fickle nature of the algorithm.
Yes. 100%. Yeah, I try to look at it now as like it's very top of funnel, right? And like how do I used to think of it as my like that's where my community lived. And
Yeah.
now I'm like, no, no, no. This is the first touch point to hopefully get more people into my
Yeah.
community. Like now my community is on Discord and
Yeah.
like on my email list and
Yeah.
hopefully at an event. Because you're right, like it's so fickle and it's so it changes so fast.
Yeah.
Like and it's so out of our control.
So out of our control. So we met at Worldcon.
We did.
So are events a big part of your, I guess, marketing activities, if we want to call it
Um,
that?
so yes, so I made the decision this year that I was going to send myself to as many events as possible, and see how it
Yeah.
worked,
Yeah.
essentially. I am very tired, I will tell you that. But they are, I mean, I think for me especially, so I'm an extrovert. I love talking to people. I often don't shut up. But I do very well at events. Like I network well. I've found that like the easiest thing I can track is like I went to an event, I sold X amount of copies, I
Yeah.
made these connections, and like I built building my author community has been huge at
Yeah.
events, not just my readership, but just like connecting with other authors. Um, so I think yes, I also think there's like a line where I'm like, okay, too many events, and
Mhm.
then you're not writing any more books.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I found them to be very, very like helpful for me. What
Yeah.
about you?
I mean, I love events too because I just do really well at them.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I do consider myself an introvert at the end of the day, but
mm,
I am very extroverted in my introvertedness. I just need
yeah,
a downtime after events.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I live in Seattle, and so I was very glad that Worldcon was in Seattle because I could just go home.
Yes, that's so
It
nice.
was
That is so nice.
wonderful. I could sleep in my own bed. I could pet my dog. I could eat my own food. Everything was great.
So
Um,
jealous.
and 5 days of con was too many days of con.
Oh my God, it was so many days of con.
I got to Friday and I was like, I have 2 more days.
So that was the beginning of because my publisher had agreed to send me on like a mini tour for The Curse of Gods. And so I went to Worldcon and then they built the tour off of Worldcon. So that was the start
Yeah, I
of like,
remember you saying
and
that.
I was like, at first I was like, oh, it's gonna be fine, no problem. And like by the end of the next week, I was like, no one talked to me for at least 12 business days. Like, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, yeah, but I love because it just feels so real when you are
Hmm.
people at events. You're like, I'm seeing your face. I'm able to like, for me, I'm very visual oriented,
Hmm.
visual learner. like I was trained in art history, and
Oh,
so I
awesome.
know how to analyze visually very well as well.
Yeah.
So it gives me such in real time visual cues when I'm talking to people about my work
Yes.
that I don't get through social media, that I don't get through online interactions.
Yes, like the way you can, and I hate to get so granular about it, but like the way you can test your messaging at an
Yes.
event and
Yes.
watch someone's face to see like
Yes.
when it hits and when it doesn't is
Yeah.
just that cannot be replaced. You know, it's
No.
funny. I just went to Books, Gowns, and Crowns.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
it was so fun, and one of the things they did there was called author speed dating, and
Hmm.
so like authors were in a circle, and then readers would come and speed date. You'd have 90 seconds to pitch your book. And it was brilliant because they did it like halfway through the welcome party. So everyone's like kind of a little drunk, which I was like, oh, this is like even more fun, right? It was just complete chaos. Like the room was loud. Like everyone's like throwing out art cards and everything. But I
Yeah.
was like, this is the best practice to be able to like pitch your book
Yes.
over and over
Yes.
and over and just watch people's face and then like change it in real time.
Hmm.
It was
Hmm.
so cool. And I was like, I wish we got to do more of this.
Yeah. 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 I did an event in Washington, D.C. back in July, and people were like complimenting me on how well I
Mm,
was just connecting with people. They were
yeah.
like, "How do you do that?" And I was like, "It's all visual cues." And I like,
Yeah.
so now I've been trying to like articulate how exactly I do that so that I can
Mm,
help other people understand it. And like, it's just the visual cues. It's like I can see like what earrings you're wearing. I can see what shoes you're wearing. I can see how you wear your clothes and your hair, and like all of these little tiny visual elements give me this like Venn diagram of you.
yeah. I love that. That's
And I'm
amazing.
like,
That's
okay,
amazing.
I can connect through here and can come around here, and then we'll eventually get over here.
Yes, that's so good. Oh my God. I love that. I love that.
And it feels like you said, so granular and analytical, but it's just it makes sense to me in the moment when you're like, all right, let me talk about these comp titles versus these comp titles. And
Yeah.
talk about, the 50-50 romance fantasy split,
Hmm.
70-30 or 60-40 or however you want to split it. And yeah, those in-person events are, I think, invaluable.
They're so invaluable and it's so interesting because like I I think we forget how much people like relate to energy.
Yeah,
Like the number of times that I go to an event and I get someone who came up and they're like, I'm really interested in your book, but honestly, I'm buying it because of your energy. Like you
yeah,
sold me on your energy. I'm
yeah,
attracted to your energy.
yeah.
And I think that like we one you don't really you can get bits of that through social media but not really, and two, because of the boundaries that authors have had to put in place on social media, you don't really get it. Like, and
No.
even I am known for being incredibly accessible, and I'm trying to change that because I'm like I love my readers, but I'm like I hang out with y'all way too much in the DMs. Like I gotta go work.
I have to go
um
write the book.
yeah, yeah. If you ever want to read another thing of mine, I gotta go.
Yeah,
But this has given me a way to bring that same energy and that same community building in a much more intimate setting.
yeah,
And I just don't think you get that online, especially now.
yeah,
And you don't get to have that same, and I don't know, there's something like really affirming about meeting a reader in person,
yeah,
and it's just like that connection piece is invaluable.
yeah, yeah. So you said your publisher arranged this tour that happened.
Yeah, so they sent me to three. I sent myself to WorldCom. They sent me to three stops, two stops after that. They helped me with my event in Atlanta. So and this was I went on like I did a few like multi-author events around Saints. I didn't have a tour for Sins. It was mini tour for gods, and then everything else that I've gone to this year has been stuff that I'm sending myself to. So cons like WorldCon, Books, Gowns, and Crowns, all of that is stuff that I've organized,
Mhm.
which I think is a massive misconception. Like I could do a TED talk on the things that people think you get when you're traditionally published
Yep,
and what you don't. And I
yep,
have to be careful about what I say
yep.
because this is going live. But it's just, it's just so and like I mean I love my publishers and they've been amazing. I think the thing that we often don't think about is that like your marketer and publicists have 50 plus authors that
Yeah.
they are also staffing. Um Publishing has a underpaid and like overworked problem. And I think that authors come into it not knowing how much is actually on you to like also support your book.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
leave it at that.
Has their support changed over the years or
You know, um, yes and no. I mean, I think what I have realized is my awareness of things has changed. Like
Mm,
I have been able to like really um like know what is in my control, know what isn't in my control. I've gotten a lot more discerning about like what battles I should be picking and what I shouldn't. So I don't know. I know there was more support. It felt like more support around Saints when Saints came out because it was my debut and it was like,
mm.
and like this is I don't know if you read that publishing has a gambling problem
Yeah.
article
I
essay. Yeah.
haven't I saw the headline. I haven't read the article yet.
Listen, pour yourself a drink
Yeah,
before you
I
read
saw it
it.
come across my feeds literally today.
Oh God, it
And
is.
so
So it
I
is.
was like, I don't, today has been a day, which we
It
found
did.
out
So
before we
it's
started recording. And so I don't think today is the day to actually read it.
no, no. So it is amazing and it is heart-wrenching because it is true. Like publishers take a gamble on the debut and then there's the sales track and like it's just it's a such a fucked up industry. Um, and I'm very grateful to be in it, but it's also fucked up.
I
But yeah, so
mean,
I think that like that I noticed that there was a big push in the beginning. And I think that what I was surprised about is that how the market reacts to series. Like I wasn't expecting that because I'm a series reader and I'm like, give me the next book, give me the next book. I can't wait. And that is not what the market does. Like the market's on to the next thing. And I think that for a while I was like, oh, this just means like my publisher doesn't care, which is not true at all. It just means that the market, like I didn't understand how the market was working. Um, so yeah, so I think there was a little bit of that. I also had a very interesting like my world rights sold to Penguin in the UK. So my main editorial relationship was with my UK publisher.
hmm,
And so with there was like always sort of this, I wouldn't say disconnect with my US team, but they were my distributional publisher here. And I think it was very difficult to like they had to do a lot of work to like get the manuscript, read it, like get behind it because they're not actively working on it as it's
yeah.
going. And I think that like I give them so much credit for having to like dive in and do all that in my home territory. And
Hmm,
like it was a very interesting dynamic that I
yeah,
think was reverse of what they experience a lot.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think publishing as a whole is a industry in flux, let's say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I've been seeing that happen, we've been seeing that happen with a lot of different just institutional industries over the
Hmm.
last 5 years
Yeah.
because there isn't agility.
No.
There's no
No,
agility built into the system.
no, there's really not. There's really not. And I joke sometimes with some of my author friends that sometimes I feel like my publishers don't know what to do with me because I come in with like this marketing, like direct to consumer mindset.
Yeah.
And like I think a lot of times they're like, great, go do it yourself. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no, 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 but also help.
Yeah.
Like, but also,
Yeah.
can you help me?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we've really had to learn like how to speak each other's language. And I've had to learn like, okay, don't offer everything up front because then they're gonna be like, good, go do that.
Mhm.
And that was a learning experience for me. But I do think that part of that is because of how publishing is built. To your point, there's no agility,
Yeah.
and we are much more agile. Like we
Yeah.
are able to make turns and pick up trends and move a lot faster. And
Yeah.
publishing is moving 2 years behind the mark
More than
at
that.
minimum.
More than
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So I think that. I know I always try not to when I think about like marketing support, I try to look at it like holistically on an industry level because I think there's so much within the industry that just makes these massive impediments for, people who work within the industry and feel very passionately about the books they're supporting, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. Yeah. How is your upcoming launches? How is your approach changing for your upcoming launches?
So it's interesting because I'm with two different publishers, and my publisher for my contemporary, they're just like a massively like they run differently in terms of like their marketing and PR approach. They just have like different models, and I don't think like it's not better or worse. They have different strategies. So I think that we've probably had to learn each other a little bit more on this launch because I will come in and I'm like, I'm gonna do all this stuff, and they're like, we could do that, and I'm like, oh, okay, sorry. Like, am I stepping on toes? But I have noticed that it's a different marketing mindset for me
Mm.
because this book is contemporary. So there's things I can do that I couldn't do with my fantasy, right? Like I'm doing an immersive marketing campaign where the two main characters, one's an author, one's an actor, they meet on a flight to New York Comic Con. I have like Instagrams for them and they're like going back and forth on Instagram and my
How
street
cute.
team is like interacting with their Instagram. So I'm able to make it more immersive. And I could have put my fantasy characters on Instagram, but it would have been like three steps removed
Yeah,
from what's
yeah,
going on, in the book. So stuff like that. I also am trying to just let it be. Like I've now come to the realization that, you know, because I'm traditionally published, again, there's only so much I can do. And I have ridden that burnout train twice now.
yeah.
And I don't want that. And so I've made my asks very specific. So
Mm.
like when we were talking about, uh, doing events, I was very clear about like here, they asked me first, hey, can you give us some local bookstores that you'd like to go to? And I wrote back and I was like, absolutely. Also, here are some non-local bookstores who have asked me several times to come. I have friends in these areas. You don't need to pay for a hotel. Like, can we meet in the middle? And I think I didn't have that knowledge before. Before I was just like, please send me anywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I think that I'm coming in with much more of a I've learned how to be a better partner, and like how
Mm.
to ask for things and what not to ask for because that's
Yeah,
just not like really where I want to spend my time, and I don't think it really makes an impact.
yeah. I mean, you kind of have to use the trial and error approach when you're starting,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, you do. You really do. And I think that it's really easy to become so massively disillusioned and cynical. And
Oh, man, so easy.
it's so easy. And like I mean, I could rant offline endlessly. And I think that for me, I think it's really difficult when you get to the end of something and like when Gods was coming out, I remember very specifically feeling like Sins hadn't gone the way I wanted it to go for many reasons. And I, wrote Gods. I was in the middle of a major depressive episode. And so most of that was like fuzzy in my brain. I didn't really remember the process. And then I got to God's releasing. And before it released, I did a read along with my readers. And that's when we first made the Discord. And we reread Saints and Sins. And at that point, there was nothing I could do. Like the series was done, God's was coming out in weeks. And I got to read it like as a reader and fan with my readers. And I was having so much fun. And then I just had this moment of like extreme grief that I had wasted so much time being so pissed
Um,
about something I couldn't control. You know what I
oh,
mean? Like I was like,
yeah.
wow, like I'm coming to the end of a trilogy, which is a massive accomplishment. And I've spent so long being angry that like, at like the way the industry works and like how I wish that I could change things and like having control. And I've had a very fortunate and privileged experience in the publishing industry. And like I own that. And so I just think about how easy it is to sit in that like space of like, I wanted it to go different. I wish there was more I could do. Why didn't it like why? And I've just decided not to do that anymore. Like I can't because I won't write. Like and I don't ever want to feel that way again. Like I was like, I don't want to be looking back and be like, wow, I missed the good parts because I was
Yeah.
so angry.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's such like a, I've been harping on this a lot lately, so please forgive me, but it's such a
Yeah.
capitalist perspective.
It is. It really is. No, it is. And like it's so infuriating because you do like you got to pay the bills. Like this is
Yeah.
my full-time job. Like I have to sell books. And then on the other side of that, I'm like, okay, but like only looking at that is it takes the art and the passion
Yes.
completely out of it.
Yes.
And there is room for both. Like,
Yes.
obviously, we want it to be successful, and obviously, we have to pay the bills. And also, I would like to enjoy this because the bottom line is no one gets into this job to pay the bills. That makes no sense.
But they
Like,
do.
I can't, I don't know
They
how.
do.
I don't know how. There are a million and one things that we could be doing that would more easily pay the bills than this job. And my mental health would be
Uh,
infinitely better.
I know. It's so funny when I run into those people at like conventions and conferences. They're like, "Well, I just saw an opportunity in the market, and so I just wanted to take advantage of this opportunity because it's just a burgeoning industry." And no, 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 no. And then we did 10 books in 10 months, and da 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 da.
Oh my God, I
Our
don't know
sales
how.
numbers dropped, and we're gonna quit everything. And I'm like, like,
Yes.
what is going on over here?
Yeah, it is. It is. It's like, it's very startling. It's very startling. And it's like, I think it's just such, like, for me, I got into this space of like, not only was it like capitalistic thinking, but it was very black and white thinking, like, where
Yeah,
I was like, okay, like, I'm either getting support or I'm not. People either care or they don't. Like, it's
yeah,
either good sales or bad sales. And I'm
yeah,
like, none of this, no, like, none of this is
yeah.
like that. Like, I really have to look at, like, how do we succeed within the container that we're in, and what does success even look like, and like how am I defining it, and why am I defining it that way, and like,
Yeah.
yeah, so this time around I'm really really trying to be like, I'm just gonna have fun with the launch, and like I hope it goes well. I've been getting amazing support, and I'm also just trying to keep in mind that, like, you know anything can happen, like, and good or bad, and I'm really just trying to let that just sit there, because it's such a fine line, I think, in this industry between like getting your hopes up
Hmm.
and then having no hope at all. So I went from having really, really, really sky high hopes to having no hope at all. So my goal is to just sit right in that happy medium of
Yeah,
like, cool. And
yeah.
I'm not great at detaching. So if you have any tips for me,
I
let me
mean,
know.
I'm going back to the agility thing. Is like we also
Yeah.
have to be emotionally agile too.
Mm-hmm.
This.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've talked about that on a couple of the panels that I've been on this year of like you have to become friends with rejection
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's a fact of life.
Yeah.
But you also have to enjoy the process.
Yeah.
Like presumably we started this because we enjoy some portion
Some
of
inkling of
this, right?
it.
And then we get all stressed out because then we start focusing on like numbers and ROI and results and KPIs,
Yes. So
all of
it's so
that.
all of it. And it's like, I think the thing too is I had to remember that, like, God willing, this will not be my last book. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, okay. So I was going into Launch for Gods and I was having that, like, oh my gosh, I've been like spent the last year being angry, and now I feel like I've missed it. And then I would ride the wave of like, I'm just gonna be content no matter what. Then like, well, what if it doesn't perform well? And then no, I'm just gonna be content no matter what. And then I finally was like, girl, you're gonna write more books.
Hmm.
Like, and hopefully you're going to be writing books for a long time. And like,
Hmm.
that's the goal, right? Is to
Hmm.
continue to write books. And then I think about like the people who have a massive, massive, massive bestseller on their first book. I would die. Like, what are you supposed to do after that?
Yeah. 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 Talk about
Yeah.
high expectations, man.
Right? Oh my
Like
gosh. I'm not mentally strong enough for that.
I would so much rather have slow growth over
Yes.
time than
Yes.
overnight success.
Yes.
Overnight success sounds good in theory.
But I just can't imagine. Like, I don't know. I think like the emotional fortitude and agility that those authors have is massive, because I
I would
am
be a
like,
puddle on the floor.
yeah.
I would be
How are you gonna
completely
top it?
I would be completely so like just inundated with like all of the shoulds, all of the pressures, all of the like, oh my God, I need to perform well or else.
Right? Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
ugh,
And like with those books, like there are readers who are like, nothing you ever write is ever gonna top this book for me. And so like knowing that would make, I would just be like, oh man, like I don't, this
yeah,
is
time to
this
go
is too
become an
much.
astrophysicist, I guess.
Yeah,
Like,
on to the
well,
next thing, because I peaked on try number one. Yeah, and there is something to be said for it. So I'm like really working on detaching my value from my work and like not putting so much of my identity in that. Um, that being said, there is something very motivational for me about like chasing a new milestone, right?
yeah,
And so I think that one of the ways I've been trying to reframe that is like, because my first book was incredibly successful. And also there are other things that I'm like, okay, now this looks like success. Now this looks like success. I'm like trying to look at how do I how do I keep checking boxes, right? And keep giving myself something to move towards because my first book, while it was very successful, wasn't like the best of all bestsellers. And now I'm like, is that even, do we even look at that as like success? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
reevaluating.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's just such a fine line between detaching from your value and also
Hmm.
standing in it too when you
Yeah.
are talking about your work and trying to convince people to read it.
Yep. 100%. 100%. Yeah.
Um, I mean, it's like detachment from the outcome, I think, is the most important thing there of being just like, I'm strong in my presentation, I'm strong in my value, but whatever you decide to do with that information is your prerogative.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, like kind of going back to like the marketing of it all, that's one of the things I had to like land on going into this last launch with Gods is I was like, okay, I'm going to make a list of like, here are the five things that if I do these five things, I know that I have done everything
Yeah,
possible
yeah,
to support my book.
yeah.
And after that, it's out of my hands. Like it's up to the market and, I don't know, the gods of publishing and whatever else, fairy juice or whatever gets put
Yeah,
in there.
yeah,
And so I think that's been really helpful is like looking at like it's not about the result. Like mine's like what's on my to-do list, and I know if I do these things, then I've done what I can do, and I can sleep at night with that.
yeah, yeah. Is that the one thing you would leave people with,
Oh
or
my God. Um, I think the thing, yes, I would say that, and I think to your point, like stand in your value is
Mhm.
really important. And I think that there's this interesting shift I've noticed that happens when authors start writing a book and they're like really excited about it. And then they move into like author space, right? And then it's like cringy to
Yeah,
like market yourself or like
yeah,
be a fan of you.
yeah,
And I think that's so unfortunate because no one is going to fight for your book the way you are going to fight for your book. Like
Mhm.
just no one. Like and like you're gonna have if you have an agent, like your agent is obviously going to fight for you, but your agent's also fighting for X amount of other authors. And that then multiplies if you're traditionally published and you're in a publisher. And like if you're, indie, you're competing against, I mean, it's a massive amount of noise everywhere, no matter what channel you're taking. And I think that the one thing I would tell people is like be your biggest fan because if you can be your biggest fan, then you're gonna have a lot of easier time like getting support, whether it's in-house or on social or at an event for your work. And I think we do ourselves a disservice when we try not to be like cringe,
Yeah,
um, because you have to love it or else no one else is going to.
yeah, yeah. You can't, the external validation is not the foundation.
No, no,
It's
not
the
at
internal
all.
validation that has to be the foundation. And if
Yeah.
you are publishing a book just to achieve external validation, then you're in a losing game. I'm
Yeah.
sorry to be the one that breaks it to you.
Yeah, truly, truly, because I mean, you're never going to make everybody happy. You're just not. And I think that it's until you can, that's why you have to be like so certain in your work. And I'm not saying you have to have like a bunch of hubris and be like, this is the best thing I've ever written and nothing's ever competed and I'm like number one forever. But I do think you have to be like, I'm proud of the work I put into this and I stand by it.
Yeah,
Because if not, you're going to get bowled over
yeah,
by, the expectations of others. And that's unfortunate.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I see so many people use the book as the tool for validation or recognition as that like signal of achievement. And I'm like, you're setting yourself up for disappointment.
It's such a slippery slope, and I mean, even I fell into that. I think in the
Oh yeah,
beginning, I was getting like when Saints first came out, I was getting all the excitement and all the
yeah,
buzz, and it was Fairy Loot, and I was like, oh, it's amazing. And then I will never forget the first viral negative review that I saw because I did not have my name blocked, and it came across my news feed, and I was like, oh my God. And I it's a learning process I think we all have to go through.
Yeah.
But I was like, whoa, like I will never, it just completely shifted the way I thought about
Yeah.
that, like I was like, this is a losing game.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And like, the external validation is nice. I'm not knocking it.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, but it doesn't have, it doesn't last. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it's very limited. And I think the problem is when we rely on it, we keep chasing it. Like there are ways to get external validation. I get external validation from my like hardcore readers all the time. That's what the Discord is for. I share a little teaser. They're like, love it. And I'm like, great, thanks. And I go
Yeah.
on my
Yeah.
way. Or like my author
Yeah.
friends, I'm like, do we like it? Like
Yeah.
doing that publicly it just doesn't fly.
Yeah. 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 Whenever I'm having imposter syndrome, I go to read my reviews and I'm like, oh, right, people do like me. Great.
Oh my God, I don't know how so I have Goodreads blocked. So I have not only do I have Goodreads blocked, I also have NetGalley blocked, which is really embarrassing because publicists will reach out to me to like moderate for someone or like be in
Wow.
conversation and they'll send me an arc and it's a NetGalley widget and I have to be like, "Hey,
Um,
I'm really sorry, but I literally can't access this. Can you send me a PDF?" Because like I am the opposite. I will seek out I am the type of person who like if I have a bruise, I'm going to press it, especially in my like low periods. And I've learned my lesson and I'm like, I don't need to be there
hmm,
because the negative weighs so much more heavily on me
hmm,
than the positive.
hmm.
So if I do need it, I will ask a friend to like screenshot the rave reviews and like send them to me and I keep them in a little smile folder.
Smile folder. We all
Yeah.
need a smile
We
folder
all
at the
need
end
a
of the
smile
day.
folder.
Yeah.
Yes. Dog pictures and nice things said about us on the
I
internet.
was just about to say my dog is my smile folder.
Yes, I love that. I love that. We
I
need
just
it.
look at her and I'm like, you still love me?
Yes. Well, and I think too, like it's so easy when you're chronically online, as we often are. Like,
Ugh.
and in this career especially, like it's easy to forget that like I love my readers and they are amazing. My readers don't know me. You know what I mean? Like they know me as an author, but like they don't know me. And I think a really slippery slope, in addition to the validation piece, is trying to rely on an online community to like fill a community hole. Like that I had to learn very quickly where I was like, this is not the same as like unplugging and going to dinner with my friends who know my middle name and my, history of trauma.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
different. And I think, I love people. And so I fall into that very easily where I'm like, oh my God, like we're all friends and this is my group of friends. And I'm like, no, that's not how that works. Like we are internet friends, but we are not, it's not the same. And I think that's really important to remember because you can kind of lose yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been noticing this more and more lately, like when people ask about my work when I'm out socializing, like outside of business socializing, I get like pre-exhausted. I'm like, I don't even want to talk
Yes.
about
Oh
it.
my God. Yes. Yes.
Like,
And I feel so bad, but I'm like,
yeah, I'm like, can we just not talk about that?
yes.
No, like, it's exciting. I love it. Nothing's going wrong.
Right.
It's just
Right.
that I've been on my TED Talk podium all day, every day,
All day.
and
All day.
I just want to step off the podium. Can we just
Yep.
go drink?
Yes. Oh my God. I was like at a doctor's appointment today and I was getting a CT scan and very lovely human who was like doing the scan, but they wanted to talk about like, what do you do? Do you have work today? And I made the mistake of being like, oh, I'm an author. So like every day is kind of work, but yes, I have to go right after this. And it like went into this whole conversation about like books and fiction and all of this stuff. And I was like, I am so tired. Like, oh no, what have I done?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You have that moment where you're like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna leave that TED Talk
Yes.
where it's lying.
Yes. Yeah.
I am
I always
not
have to
gonna
like catch
resurrect it for
myself.
you.
Yes. Like I'm like, oh, do I want to dive into this topic? And I'm like, no, you've been diving into the topic all day, every day.
Yeah.
Leave it be.
Yeah. And then everyone's like, oh, my brother wrote a book. Oh, my cousin wrote a book. Can
Oh
you
yeah, I get
talk to
that a lot.
them? And I'm like,
Yes.
fine, put them on my calendar, but I'm not talking about it right now.
Yeah, but not currently. Not
Not
currently.
at this moment. Get them on
I
my
get it.
calendar. You might be able to find a spot in 3 weeks.
Yes, yes, that's the way to do it. Good boundaries.
I fight for my boundaries so hard. Like, you want to scrap because I'm going to protect my boundaries.
You have to. You have to. Yes.
You really do. Well, anything else you want to add before we start wrapping up? This is my
Oh my
boundary.
gosh, this is your boundary. No, this is amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, I always love these conversations. It feels so good to talk shop with other writers and authors, especially when we're just like, I kind of think of this as like the academic approach too. It's like we're
Hmm.
doing this round table where we're talking about our experiences, and I learned something, the audience learned something. I mean, that's why I started this podcast. I was like, I need to have these conversations that I'm having in private with people
Hmm.
be more public because
Yes.
it's needs to be transparent, like what we're all
Oh
dealing
my
with
God.
here.
Yes.
It's not like we have the secret sauce. It's
Right.
not like we have the secret recipe that we can slide across the table.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, no, we've been in the thick of it. We've been fighting for our boundaries. We've been learning. We've been failing. We've been sometimes winning.
Yes. Yeah. When I think there's something so common, like I remember the first time I had to like talk to authors, like after an event in a group, and I realized that like other authors were having the same problems I was having. And I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
like it's not just
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not the problem.
Yes.
What
Yes.
a concept.
Yes, it was like mind blowing, and that like that's why I always try to like look at it like within the realm of because I'm like okay, this is not just a me thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you learn to ask too, of being
Yes.
like, oh, so have you tried out this new thing? Tell me what your thoughts are on it.
Yeah.
Or I dumped 2 grand into it.
Oh my God, that's a whole different TED Talk.
Because I want to keep my 2 grand if possible.
Yeah, please, please,
I've
those
got rent
bills
to
we were
pay.
talking about. Oh,
Well, this is powerful stuff that we're talking about. An audience, we definitely encourage you to share your own thoughts, feelings, insights, and stories with us as well. We'd love to know how you are journeying on this journey of making a writing career, hopefully somewhat enjoyably. I mean, that's kind of the goal,
that's the goal.
hopefully. And please do let us know if you have any questions. We'd be happy to answer them. We have a lot of different terms that we throw around in these conversations, and so sometimes they're like glossary. Well, we can provide that if needed. Special thanks to Kate for joining me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Please comment, like, subscribe below. Check out Linktree/Claire for all of my links. And then where can folks find out more about you?
I am everywhere on the internet at Kate Dramis, so come hang with me. I'm most active on Instagram, so come hang over there.
Awesome. And I'll make sure those links are easily accessible in the show notes. And until next time, please remember that you all have extraordinary stories to share, and we're rooting for you as you use them to change the world for the better. Take care, guys.